Good evening, everybody. We're just going to give it a minute here as people file in. All right, here we go. Thanks for joining, everybody. This is our now third and final team rep webinar that we're excited to bring you tonight. I'm joined by Don Ellard, our club development coordinator. I'm Matt Tiano, CEO of TCSL. And like I said, we're happy that you've spent some or chosen to spend some time with us tonight. We should be out of here by 8:45 if all goes according to plan. There is the ability to ask questions in this webinar. We're going to try to get to as many questions as we can in real time. You can also send a chat to both Don and I if you prefer to ask a question that way. So in terms of what we're hoping to accomplish, here's an agenda. Real quickly, we'll talk about just who we are, talk about specifics relative to the full-sided 11v11 game. Schedule's coming out Friday, so we'll walk through that, give an overview of the reschedule process, spend some time on referees and that situation in our state, talk about what you need to bring for game day, talk about sideline management, events, who to contact for what, and then we'll wrap with a Q&A. But what we found yesterday is feel free to ask questions in real time and we'll get to them as we're able. Let me just make sure Q&A. Thank you, Angela. Asked a good question. I should have brought this up. Don't feel like you got to take a bunch of notes and memorize the content. Tomorrow, we will be sending out a recording of this presentation, as well as a follow-up with links and how-tos and a summary of the topics we've covered. So again, don't feel like you got to memorize this or take a bunch of notes. Just really quickly, who we are at TCSL. Ultimately, we're here to serve you and we're here to serve the game. We're driven by a core set of values. You've probably seen this on our website, at our events, what have you. Transparency, competition, sportsmanship, and limelight. Transparency, we try to make all decisions in an open, honest, collaborative way with our clubs. Competition, we spend a ton of time with our clubs ensuring that teams are at the appropriate level of play. Sportsmanship, it's a big deal. We're going to talk about it a little bit tonight, especially how it impacts our referee situation. And then limelight, we think that the players deserve to be recognized. We feel like clubs deserve to be recognized, coaches deserve to be recognized, managers. I know we have a ton on the call tonight. So we try to recognize the tremendous work that goes into youth soccer, from a variety of angles. Ultimately, we're trying to provide an experience, an environment where there can be good games close to home. We don't think you should be having to travel very far to play a good soccer game. And like I mentioned before, from a competitive standpoint, we really work hard with our clubs to ensure that there's appropriate balance and those types of things. So just really quickly, relative to the under 13 through the under 19 league, not many modifications like there are in the U9 and U10 game and the U11 and U12 game. But want to touch on a few pieces here in terms of expectations. Culture, sportsmanship, respect are so important. And these players are obviously a little bit older, but that that shouldn't mean that the culture of the match deteriorates. So our expectation is that culture is a good one. Coaches, we're asking that you own the environment and culture of the match. One thing we are asking that we haven't asked before is that the coaches make an effort to meet and greet with the referee, make them feel welcome, make them part of the game, make them feel like they'll come back tomorrow. It's a good opportunity to cover rules, any questions you have, expectations for the match. Relative to scores, those are obviously posted publicly on the TCSL website. We ask that referees report those within 24 hours. Teams, coaches, managers may do so if they aren't updated. Our office does follow up pretty routinely with referee assigners and by extension referees, but sometimes they're not reported. We ask that you help us keep the standings updated, and we provide a how-to for how to do that. And then the referee situation. So we're going to talk a little about that in just a little bit, but we're pretty nervous about the referee numbers, quite frankly. And like I said, we're going to talk about that in a little more detail in just a second. We set the expectation with the U11s and the U12s that many of their matches might have one referee on them. Depending on how the certification progresses over the course of the next month, that might impact the U13 and U14 game as well. Our hope is that U15 and above matches all have 3 referees. We are one of the last states, just as a tidbit, that has 3 referees on U11 through U14 matches. We're not suggesting that we hope that we get there, but we're articulating a reality that there might not be 3 referees on every match like there have been in the past. And we ask that you're empathetic and understanding. We'll talk a little bit more about it in just a second. Schedules. So on Friday, you are going to get your schedule. It'll be released. You'll receive an email, and you'll be able to access your schedule in 2 different places. The first place, and probably the most important place, is in your Got Sport account. Now, if you managed a U13 or U14 team in the fall, you would have been in this platform. This is a new platform from last summer. So many of you will not have been in this platform. Got Soccer basically upgraded their technology, and it's a completely new deal. The thing to recognize and remember is that all team administration, rostering, communicating with opponents, reporting scores, all happens within that system. Okay, hang on, I'm just gonna look at the Q&A. If there aren't ARs, then do we look for parent volunteers from the home team? Is that okay to do? Yes, I'll cover that a little bit more in a second, but yes, you would basically solicit club linesmen, at which point they can call the ball in and out of play and in and out of play only, so no offside. But if it were to come to that, yes, that is what would happen. Will you cover how or where managers fill out forms like background checks, safe sport training, and any other prerequisites? Not in detail in this meeting, but as part of our follow-up, you'll receive that information. One big change from how we've done things historically, based on feedback from our clubs and based on the fact that when we use blackout dates, which is what we did before, the reschedule volume was so vast. Up to 50, 60% of games are already being rescheduled. So we moved to a primary play night model for this summer. And what that ultimately means is that your schedule, if you're a Wednesday team, if you're a U13 regional team, for example, or let me use U13 boys state, for example, the play night is Wednesday. Your schedule will be a combination of Wednesdays and Mondays. If you're a Thursday team, your schedule will be a combination of Tuesday and Thursday. Jennifer asked a good question. Didn't those of us who had winter leagues use GotSport for games, rosters, et cetera? Yes, you would have. It's a small percentage of teams. I had overlooked that, but it's the same platform. So back to play nights really quick. You will, based on your division, you can expect to see, you can expect your schedule to match what we've already posted. Okay. Now, as far as rescheduling goes, you can schedule for any day of the week. Could be Monday through Sunday. Okay. What you're going to get is ultimately an expectation for what we've already published. So once the schedule comes out, we open what we coin the reschedule window. What that means is that it's the time in which it's open season as far as rescheduling. Once April 1st comes around, it closes. So what we're asking is on March 18th, you evaluate your schedule, identify any issues, and then proceed to rescheduling. How that works is you will ultimately communicate with your opponent within GotSport. You'll work with your club to secure facilities if you're the home club. And then you'll submit the request to us once it's finalized and we ultimately approve it. And there's documentation for this. Don't feel like you have to know how to do that right this second. That will be a part of our follow-up. Just looking at the Q&A here. Okay. When should we get our login info for GotSport? That should come from your club. So if you're unsure of what it is, reach out to your club administrator. This is just a real quick screenshot overview of the platform. You'll notice here, there's these chat bubbles, and then there's an example of some correspondence between two teams who are working together to reschedule. Okay, so all that correspondence should happen in GotSport. That way, if there's a need for us to get involved and help facilitate a reschedule or any other scenario, we can at least see the history of the conversation. If it's in your email, you know, it's hard for us to get involved and understand the full picture of what's going on. And again, in GotSport, don't feel like, again, you got to memorize any of this, but this is where you're going to set a match day roster. This is where you're going to print out a game card to bring to the field. So all of that happens within GotSport. Okay, as promised, want to spend a little bit of time on referees because it's an important piece of where we're at right now. Referee numbers are down from last year. There are also more children playing and there are more games. So for league operators, that is a scary thought. So we're setting the, I don't know if expectation is the right word, but we're making you aware that that's the situation. Now, well, I do want to show this example because I think it tells a good story. Two dads are watching a soccer game. One says, "Which one is your lad?" Why? Wanted to tell him how rubbish he is. You can't say that. He's only a kid. How would you like it if I said that to your kid? You've done that all game. Why? Who's your kid? The referee. So I think this shows, and for those of you that know me, refereeing is near and dear to my heart. We got to give the referees a chance or they won't come back. And our situation right now is dire. So we need the ones that are out there working to have as much support as possible. What does this mean? And what is our current reality? There are likely to be rescheduled matches due to referees. I've never said that before in the many years that I've been doing this. But I think we're at the point where there are likely to be rescheduled matches due to lack of referees. That said, if every team on this call and every team in the league committed to having two individuals go through the referee training, the whole dynamic changes. So that's our ask. That's our plug, however you want to describe it. And we'll follow up in terms of how to get involved. We won't cover that process here tonight, but that would be part of our follow-up. But ultimately, if you don't have two people go through the training, how you can help the situation is just by treating referees with dignity and respect. There simply won't be matches if we continue along this trajectory. That is pretty scary. So again, our ask, please communicate these circumstances to your parent group. Be a part of the solution relative to, having two people go through the training. And then lastly, be empathetic with the referees that are out there. We need them to come back. We need them to referee again tomorrow. So yeah, that's our piece on referees. We just ask that there's some awareness around this important issue. Somebody asked a question about rosters. I'll get to that in just a second. How old do you need to be a referee? Good question. You have to be 13 years of age when you create an account to be referee, to ultimately become a referee. So 13, I think I got that question twice. Okay, what do you need for game day? Good timing, because I just got a couple questions on this. One, you need a photo roster, otherwise known as a game card, printed from Gotsport. And then secondly, all adults must have a printed U.S. Club physical card and be on the photo roster. Why is this important? If an adult has that pass, it means that they've gone through a rigorous process to ultimately qualify to be a coach. And that is passed a background check, completed safe sport, gone through a rigorous disqualification review process to make sure that they're not on any suspension lists elsewhere. So that's very, very important from a player health and safety perspective. All adults must have a printed U.S. Club Soccer physical card. Okay. And then lastly, we ask that you help us audit and make sure scores are reported. If the referee hasn't reported them, there's a process for doing so. So going back to this question, so the roster sheet is all we need. Do we need to laminate individual player passes? No. For league play, you don't need those. You might need those for tournaments, depending on the tournament's requirements, but you do not need them for TCSL league play. Does this apply if the player is a guest player? If the player is a guest player, and by guest player, just to be clear, that'd be a club pass player from within your club, not another club. From within your club, you need to add them to this photo roster, otherwise known as a game card. Okay. Good question. Clarify on all adults who need a pass. That is all adults who are on the player sidelines, correct? That is correct. We strongly recommend that managers also have a pass with them. In the case of a coach getting a red card, coach stuck in traffic on 494, the game needs to have an adult on the sideline. And a manager may step in because they've gone through the process to be a carded staff member. Just going through the questions here. Are there any picture requirements related to the picture for the photo roster? We just asked that it's a good picture. Beyond that, there's no formal requirements. Does the manager need a physical card? I think I addressed that. Does that mean we do not need the physical card for coaches? No, it means that you do need a physical card. Coaches must have their card that looks like this on the left-hand side with them. This tells everybody that you are an approved staff member. If we printed the US Club Soccer physical card in the fall for adults, will that work for the spring? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Is the card something we print or something we have to request? It's something that'll be issued by your club, generally your registrar or club administrator. What's the maximum number of adults on the sidelines? I'm not sure if we specify an actual number. Once you get more than 3, people might start looking at you guys a little funny. So I would say informally, I would suggest it be 3 or less. Are there any repercussions for teams if parents are not respectful to referees? We are ultimately working on a league code of conduct that we're going to be rolling out prior to the season, which includes mechanisms by which TCSL will take action in the event that we receive reports of behavior that you allude to. Typically, the manager doesn't stay on the player's sideline. I would say that's correct. Does the coach or manager need to sign the card? No. Will there be an option to add coaches to the game card? That option exists today, and your club administrator can help with that. To help set expectations, is the ask to become main referees or those on the sideline? I think it's relative to the ask that I made prior. New referees can choose to just be assistant referees, or if they're comfortable and if they're age appropriate, they can choose to become a center referee. So if a new referee simply just wants to be on the line, no problem, and they can earn significant income doing so. Okay, I think I got through most of the questions. Also relative to game day. So we publish home team kits. Why do we do this? We do this so clubs that are traveling to any team in our league, there's an expectation for what they will be wearing so that the away team can ultimately prepare. We always suggest bringing both kits just in case, but we publish these out of convenience so that everybody's on the same page about what everybody's going to wear. In general, home is dark, as you can see. In general, away is light. Really quick, and not to belabor it, but I feel like I'm belaboring it. Sideline behavior, probably can tell a theme. Team leaders, coaches and managers, we look to you to ultimately help us foster a culture of respect. To put it simply, we expect the best of our membership. The culture at our events and at league games is very, very important to us, and we do not tolerate disrespectful language or actions at any one of our events. I'm not going to list what it includes, but I think it's pretty obvious what our expectation is. And we look to you all as leaders of the team and ultimately having frequent communication with your parents to let them know what the appropriate expectation is. Wanted to let you know there's 3 separate initiatives relative to sideline behavior that we're going to be rolling out over the next month. The first is a sideline project. It's a 15-minute course sponsored by the Soccer Parenting Association, where we're actually going to have some contesting between clubs in terms of the percentage of their parents that complete this course. So we're going to be rolling that out at the beginning of April. Be on the lookout for that. We're also rolling out a code of conduct, a league-specific code of conduct, an enforceable code of conduct. And then we're going to also have a match feedback form where people are able to report, good things. And we do want to hear about those. And I think the more we celebrate the good in youth soccer, the better the environment is. And then obviously we want to know when things happen that just aren't quite right. so that we can curb that, so that our league can be as best as possible. Okay, or as good as possible, I should say. Can you provide us the information or the link for the referee training so we can share with our families? Absolutely. That'll be a part of our follow-up that you'll get tomorrow. And I'm excited about the interest in this. I will say at all 3 webinars, we've gotten really good feedback about people wanting to be a part of that solution. So we're appreciative of that. I'm just going through the questions here. Coaches are typically responsible for game cards, not managers, right? It depends on the team. You know, there are some teams where the coach basically is the coach and the manager. There are some teams where the coach just coaches and is never in GOT sport. That'll be something that you're going to want to cover with your group about who's responsible for what, because it does vary. What do refs get paid per game? It really varies. It varies from the standpoint of the age in which you're refereeing. So a U9 or U10 game, you can make $30 in an hour, which is pretty good money. As you go up and you do a U17, U18, U19 game in the middle, it can pay, you know, $70, $80. So the money can be quite good. So yeah. Didn't miss anything. Is there a way to get a copy of the PowerPoint you use for reference? How do we watch or rewatch the content of this meeting? Tomorrow we'll be sending out follow-up. It'll include a recording of this meeting as well as relevant links to the various topics. So you'll get everything you need tomorrow. Really quick, relative to TCSL events. So Minnesota Cup, our state cup, June 1st through the 5th. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 1st through the 3rd, matches in the evening only. It'll be on really, really nice facilities in the metro. There'll be 2 levels of play. The winners advance to U.S. Club Soccer national events, either National Cup in Colorado or the Midwest Regional in Illinois. If you have any questions about this event, reach out to our office. But we're excited. This event's been a success in prior years, and we're excited to have it once again. And then from a league perspective, this is a new thing for this year. Responding to feedback from our clubs about the desire to have more of a league playoff at the end of the season. So we're excited to roll out the TCSL Final Four. This represents the league postseason, like I mentioned. Ultimately, the top 4 teams in each TCSL level will qualify into this event. Okay, it'll be held July 22nd through the 24th. The semifinal winners will play in ultimately the Final Four championship, and then there'll be a 3rd place match as well. So the top 4 teams in each TCSL age, gender, and division are automatically qualified into this event at season's end. There will be a process to opt in. More to follow on that. That'll happen around mid-June, but you should have this calendar on your radar should you qualify. Again, it's not an open entry event. It's meant for the top 4 teams in the league to ultimately meet in the Final Four. To use an example, if the 4th place team opts out, we would take the 5th place team, just to be clear. But like I said, we're excited about this. We're excited to have a real postseason. It's something that we've wanted to do for some time, and based on feedback from our clubs, felt like it was the right time to roll this out. Any questions on any of the events? Okay. Wanted to just quickly cover who to contact for what. Youth soccer for sure can be complex, and we want to make sure that TCSL provides as much service and support as we possibly can. Ultimately, we see our role as the DOC and the administrators' first call. So when they have questions, they come to us. When it comes to event registration or questions about events, please come to us. Like I said, the DOC and the club admin, generally, we are their first call. And then, if coaches on the call have questions about coach education or opportunities coming up, come to us. Sideline issues, for sure. We've talked about it ad nauseum here. That's something that we're going to be heavily involved with. In terms of your club, and generally where they become involved is things related to player registration. So why isn't a player on my roster? Club DOC, you need to find some guest players. Who would be a good team to solicit those from? They would be involved in that. If you have questions about your team's placement, generally good to ask your DOC. From a rescheduling in fields perspective, it could be your DOC, it could be your club administrator. It depends on how your club is set up. But relative to field needs, you're for sure going to have a relationship with your club in terms of how that whole thing works, because they're going to be the ones that know when the fields are available and what have you. Okay. You're always welcome to come to us. However, we'll likely, depending on the topic, such as a player not being registered or what have you, that would generally be a club thing that needs to be addressed. And that is the webinar. So happy to hang out. If people have additional questions, let me just filter through, see if I missed any. Jessica asked a good question. Would it be possible to list the club names with the home kits? It's difficult when we don't know their logo. Yes, it is possible. That graphic is at our website, then resources, then home team kits. We can put a table on that page that would list the colors, if that would be helpful. Do you make your own schedule as to which games you get to ref? Yes. Good question, Brian. Referees are independent contractors. They can work as much or as little as they want. It's really completely up to them. Make sure I didn't miss anything. A few others on the referee bit, and that'll be a part of our follow-up tomorrow, like I mentioned. Other than that, how do we connect with the TCSL scheduler for refs? I have a few in my family. That's great, Harry. TCSL doesn't schedule referees directly. All of our member clubs have individual referee assigners. It would be prudent to go to our website and go to members. We have a membership directory. And if you click next to each of the clubs, it'll tell you who the referee assigner is, so they can reach out to whomever is, close to home, so to speak. Sarah, for player game nights, what's the difference between regional, state, and NPL? How do you know what level you are? It'd be a question for your club. Those are just various levels within our league, and the clubs ultimately select into each of the divisions. So that would be a question for your club. Should we always wear our home kit unless we are away and our opponent is the same color? You should always wear your home kit color, yes. Let's put it that way. Managers or coaches are scheduling the fields for each game. So the clubs will have scheduled the matches that you're going to see when the schedule is released on Friday. If you're going to reschedule, you're going to need to work, if you're the home team, with your club to get field availability to ensure that you're not scheduling a game when a field isn't available. When I logged into Gotsport, it says our level is competitive. How does that translate to the levels mentioned? That's not a league level. That's a level within U.S. Club Soccer. Who has to change uniforms if the colors, if there's a conflict between teams, the home or the away team? If the home club is wearing their appropriate home kit as we published, then the away team needs to change. If the home team is not wearing the home kit as we published, then the home team needs to change. Is there a ref reimbursement program? If they pass the test, they get the initial feedback. Many clubs have a reimbursement program pending you work a nominal number of matches with that club. So the fields will be pre-scheduled for the regular season games. We only need to find fields for reschedules. That's correct. Just filtering through here. How do I access the roster for game day? It'll be a part of our follow-up tomorrow in terms of how-tos and steps and what have you. Somebody asked what coaching training is available. Many clubs do in-house training for their coaches. What we offer are United States Soccer Federation approved coaching courses. We have a D license that's ongoing. We have a C license that's ongoing. We're likely to bring a B license to the market next year. And then we run 7v7, 9v9, 11v11 courses. So there's plenty of opportunities for coaches to get that type of training. All right.
We do have a couple new questions, Matt, in the
Okay.
Q&A. Someone asked if managers need to bring medical waivers to games. The medical waivers don't physically have to be at a game, but we do ask that clubs have them on file. Is it acceptable for a parent to referee the same game his child's team is playing in? I'll let you take that one, Matt.
Our strong preference is no. If it means not having a game or having a game, we would probably entertain it, but it's not good practice. If it is to come to fruition where that's the case, we would just want to make sure that both teams are aware of the situation. What dates are games starting? The schedule will have May 2nd as the first play date, Monday.
There are some clubs that did have availability on turf in April, so you may see some games sprinkled in there too.
Somebody asked why the switch from Got Soccer to Got Sport. It was, they upgraded their technology basically. All right, we're going to wrap. Look for follow-up from us tomorrow, and we appreciate everybody making the time to be with us tonight. We are looking forward to getting it, on the field in the next several weeks. So have a great night, everybody.